Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite Average to Good podcast. Call it what you want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside not Tony Miola and Charlie Davies. Instead, I swapped them out for my two lucky charms who helped the U.S. win 5-1 over Uruguay today. Tab Ramos, American legend, and Johnny Bornstein, also an American legend. Appreciate you guys being with us today. As I mentioned, a 5-1 win. I'm in dreamland right now for the red, white, and blue over a very, very, very good Uruguay team, and we made it look easy. After making 9 substitutions or changes from the starting 11 against Paraguay, I thought that could be a little bit risky, and we were up 4-0 after 40 minutes, Tab Ramos. What a performance from the guys.
Yeah, once again, we were able to see the intensity that we were looking for, the team shape that we're getting used to now, regardless of the players that we see on the field. I think the team looked at all times like a unit today. I think we made a comment during the game at how it didn't matter what players were going in which position, but we actually looked exactly the same always. We didn't, once again, we just played 2 tough South American teams and didn't give them a chance to play at all. Didn't give them a chance to have the ball. They created very few chances in the 2 games. You can say that maybe Uruguay created a little bit more in that period of time when they were down 4-1, where the game was a little bit out of reach already. But I think 2 excellent performances, and in particular, this one is a performance to remember because the team was really solid. All the players did well, and a couple of players obviously had their stock go up really high today.
All right, before we get to you, Johnny B, on your thoughts about this game, your overall thoughts, I want to give a shout out to everybody watching us live on the Golasso America YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications. You guys know the deal. And everybody watching on the Golasso Network, we appreciate you. We're excited right now. We're absolutely beaming with pride because what a performance after beating a very good Paraguay team a couple days ago, Johnny B. Give me your thoughts. What are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I just kept hearing the chant of USA, USA. That's all the chant we get right when we're playing for the USA. But yeah, obviously we combined with the red, white, and blue. It just felt very patriotic today. We get this crazy result of 5-1 against the Uruguayan team who's not even given up 2 goals since 2021, and then 4 goals or more since
like 2004. It's been like it's been over 20 years since they've gotten beaten down like that.
Exactly. And so, I was most impressed as well by the structure of our team. I thought the only moments that we really got in trouble were when we gave the ball to Uruguay in dangerous positions. I thought if Uruguay was building out of the back, we were behind the ball. Jimmy, you mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, it's like, it looked like we were sitting off a little bit and giving them the ball, but it was actually working because, we weren't giving away very many spaces, no slip passes like you were mentioned as well. And just really impressed with that. Secondly is, the fact that we were really good on set pieces tonight. I thought, you have to mention that because, like everyone who came on the show said, set pieces are very important during a tournament like the World Cup, right? Any tournament, you've seen consistently over the last 30 years that games are made or lost and won on set pieces. And so, being good on the attack is very good, but we're also very good on defensively as well.
No, you nailed it. I mean, set pieces, we were fantastic, and we're going to get into the starting 11 here in a second, but I agree with you, both of you. So set pieces with you, Johnny B, and just managing the flow of the game, making sure we played on our terms and not theirs, I thought was really impressive. And I love what you said, Tab, about not giving either team, Paraguay or Uruguay, really any chance to do what they wanted to do. And I think that's a sign of a very good team. So I'm very excited. Now, what's interesting is as this game played out, when they scored the first goal, I was like, all right, Sebastian Berhalter, what a goal, what a set piece. We scored on a set piece or close to it against Paraguay. So this is not unfamiliar territory. Then we score again. I'm like, okay, we're getting cooking, get my little chef hat on, my little apron on. We're cooking right now. Then we scored 3. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is insane. And then we scored 4. And I'm like, we are in dreamland. I went through so many emotional stages that were all positive, and the buildup was absolutely incredible. And here are the match stats right now that I can't believe that 2 hours ago, if you would have told me we would have beat Uruguay 5-1 and been up 4-0 after 40 minutes, I'm like, what are you smoking and drinking? And do you have some for the rest of us? Because that is absolutely ridiculous. It's probably not a good thing to say if the kids are watching, but you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. So match stats, we didn't have the possession. That was Uruguay. They had the lead there, 55% to 45, but we had more shots on target, more corners. We made the most of those corners, and it was really a really special performance. Now, we've talked about for a long time about getting a signature win, Tab. Right? So this group just didn't have a signature win. And I feel like we got one tonight, but we made 9 changes from the starting 11 from the last game. And we were not without Christian Pulisic, no Tyler Adams, no Chris Richards, no Jedi Robinson, no Weston McKennie, no Chris Richards. We already said him. I mean, we're just missing so many key guys. Matt Turner would be another one. And we still got a signature win and a win that I think we can all be proud of. And be like, that's the team that that energy and that intensity is what we expect now moving forward, and that the standard has been set. So I don't know. Let's take a look at the starting 11 because I'm going off. I'm so excited. Matt Freese in goal. Trusty, McKenzie, and Freeman were the back three, right? So Tim Ream comes out, Miles Robinson comes out, Joe Scally come out. Morris and Berhalter come in for Tessmann and Roldan. You got Tolkien in for Arfston. Des stays. So Des and Freese were the two holdovers. Timothy Tillman and Diego Luna come in for Brendan Aronson and Gio Reyna, and then Haji Wright gets the start over Fuller and Balogun. What were your initial thoughts? Let's kind of walk it back. When you saw this lineup, Tab, you're like, interesting, or I don't know. I don't want to put the words in your mouth. What did you think when you saw it?
I would say I was not surprised. It was definitely interesting that he changed so many players, but I think Pochettino has gotten us used to making changes at this point and not focusing on actually having a starting 11. He said it in his own words. The only thing that matters is what happens in the World Cup, and he's building depth on this team. And he did it today. And I tell you, I have to give Pochettino a lot of credit. And more importantly, I have to give the players a lot of credit because this was a signature win. And yeah, you can say, Uruguay is not going through a good moment. They're struggling right now. They're not playing well. They didn't play well against Mexico the other day where they only had 2 shots on goal. But this was a big win, and we've been waiting for a big win for years. And I'm glad it's here.
No, it's been fantastic. We have a nice track record of playing in Tampa as well. I got a win there against Ecuador back in the day. And Johnny B, I know you got one when you were captain, your only time being captain against El Salvador, and won that game as well. Now I got to tiptoe into this area, Johnny B, because the first 4 goal scorers were all MLS guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sebastian Berhalter scored the first one. Alex Freeman scored a header on the second. Then he danced through the defense to score the third. Diego Luna got the fourth. I mean, do we say rest in peace to the MLS haters at this point, or what are we doing?
I mean, I hope so, right? Like, I think MLS guys have always gotten a lot of hate over the last number of years, but I think also with the growth of the league,
even when we were playing, Johnny B,
Yeah, even when we were playing, I was always told you got to get overseas to be able to play with the national team, and obviously it helps, right? Because you're playing in some of the better leagues in the world, but it's also tough to play in those leagues, and so. I think the growth of the league over the last number of years is also, it's a testament to that. We got good young Americans coming through the systems and, playing consistent, good soccer within the MLS. And so, sometimes what that brings out of you is a little bit more fight, a little bit more hunger to be able to prove yourself to not only the haters, but to the coaching staff, to your teammates that you belong to be there. And so it's really good to see these MLS guys showing up on a big stage like tonight.
Now, Tab, one of the things that I learned through my national team experience, especially when I played in the World Cup, was it didn't matter what you did or where you played before. And it doesn't matter where you are going to play afterwards. It's what you're doing right now. Are you ready when the whistle blows right now? And I think what I was most impressed about with the guys tonight, a lot of them are in sink or swim moments, right? This is it. This is probably their last audition to really try to win over Mauricio Pochettino and the coaching staff. And I thought some guys passed with flying colors, and they were ready when the whistle blew. And I know Uruguay had similar things. They made 8 changes from their starting 11 from the game against Mexico. So Marcelo Bielsa, the manager of Uruguay, was also testing and experimenting to see, okay, which guys are going to step up and play. And probably a lot of those guys might not make the team. But I thought our guys really took advantage of their opportunity. And so I kind of wanted to ask you straight up, even though Alex Freeman got named man of the match, which with 2 goals and obviously going to stand out, is he the guy for you that made the most of this opportunity? Because it felt like for me, he was already going to go. He was already kind of on the bubble, but probably leaning to going because he can play right wing back. He can play one of the right center backs, which I thought he did really well tonight. But was there anybody else that maybe broke through even more for you tonight out of all the players that started?
Well, I think, this is obviously a good question because there's a lot of guys that helped themselves tonight. But I would pick Alex Freeman because if I'm looking at this game as a coach, I'm looking at a player that I think can help me in multiple ways. Right. And so, yeah, of course, I think he might have been on the roster already without this performance tonight. But I think this performance likely makes Mauricio Pochettino think about Alex Freeman being a a starter, right? And so I think he helped himself a lot. And obviously, I don't want to put I don't want to leave behind other performances. Like, I think Berhalter's performance is really important for him. I just don't see it as important only because of the position that he plays in and the competitions that's there and how likely far he is removed from actually being in a starting 11 when the World Cup starts. He had a great game, but I think he's a little bit behind. But I think I would pick Alex Freeman, and then I think the rest of the team, I was really happy to see how the defensive unit was solid tonight. Didn't allow really. I mean, Uruguay had 2 plays at the end of the first half. Other than that, they didn't create a whole lot. Everything was in front of them. They went forward when they could. They played the ball well. They didn't lose it. I think there was a lot of positives about today's game. And again, we said it when the game started. Every play that players made tonight was going to count. And players made big plays.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said too. And I agree with you kind of like that with a position scarcity. I don't know if walking into this window or even coming out of this window that we know who the right center back should be in a back 3. I feel like we know that Chris Richards will probably be in the middle and that Tim Ream will probably be on the left side. So who is that right one? Miles Robinson's had an audition there. We had Tristan Blackman getting a shout there. Joe Scally played against Paraguay. But it seems like Alex Freeman, though that might not be his most natural position, can do the job. And if he can create a nice relationship with Serginho Dest, John B., then all of a sudden you're like, okay, he's starting to create this connective tissue that just makes the team stronger and builds that rapport that I think is so necessary in high pressure situations, that you know what each player is going to do when they have the ball and maybe more importantly when they don't.
Yeah, I think typically, what you look for in a right-sided center back in the line of 3 is, someone who's going to be able to create on the, within possession, breaking lines. You don't usually ask them to be overlapping your right wing back, right, and getting forward in different moments like that. So, the relationship between that wing back and that right center back, but also the relationship with that defensive center mid, the 6 on that side, because as that's happening, you were seeing a lot of Aiden Morris kind of tucking back and allowing both our right-sided defenders to be kind of higher up the field, right? So I think just that understanding between all of those guys is there, and whether that's being coached in training or if that's something that's just naturally happening between the players on the field, it's good to see. And so you can ask, of a Freeman, something like that, which gives another dynamic to the game, and it's really good to see. And obviously he got 2 goals, and weren't really caused by any of those type of plays, but just having someone who's bringing another dimension to the U.S. game is really good to see.
Yeah, I think what's interesting too is if Jedi Robinson can get healthy and he's the left-sided wing back, then his relationship with Tim Ream, which has been built on many years together at Fulham, you've got a nice symmetry there, and then you got a nice symmetry potentially emerging with Freeman and Dest, and you got Richards and Ream already set, and now you probably have Tyler Adams, and I would guess Tanner Tessmann would be your 6s in this formation. Now I feel like, all right, we got it. I like this team. There's a lot of good things happening here, but even if those guys aren't healthy for whatever reason, we also have some other players that can step up. But that right center back spot still feels like it's up for grabs. Tab, we talked about this during the game because we had a live watch along. Make sure you join us for the next one when it happens. Of course, the next window isn't until March, so you got some time to prepare for that. When Freeman picked up the ball for his second goal, he's our right center back, but somehow he's in the box on the left side, and then he's dancing through 3 guys to get a shot off. I need some questions there. I need that to make sense somehow in my brain, even though I'm thrilled that happened. But I think it speaks to the type of player rotations and freedom and trust that the players have been talking about, that Mauricio Pochettino has been giving them. And now it's starting to pay dividends, I should say.
Yeah, no question. I think the last game we saw a number of times where Scally was going forward, although he was a center back, he was playing ahead of Serginho Dest, who was playing that outside wing back, right? And in this case, we see Alex Freeman completely on the left side of the field, dribbling inside as if he was Doku. He looked like Doku, right? So he's dribbling inside like Doku, and you're like, this is really great to see. But it goes back to what we said before. And although obviously that happened, I think after a corner and the team was not in the right, and not all the players were in the right position, but this is a testament to how Mauricio Pochettino has been working on team shape, right? Because at no time regardless of where players are, the team looks balanced. And I think that was one of these plays in which, yes, we had a center back on the left side of the field as a winger, but the team still looked like it had balance. And that's tremendously important.
Yeah, it is important. And I think what's interesting too, let's say it happened in the run of play, and we did see that with Scally against Paraguay. We saw it with Alex Freeman tonight as well. Maybe not on that goal, because I do think it was like a kind of the end, or a set piece had happened, and then obviously the ripple effect of the next couple plays led him to be in that position. But even if he does step into it, or any of the center backs step into it, if they can see that they've got space to run into, then we could tuck back into a back four. You could have Dest immediately go to a right back. You could have your two center backs, and then whoever the left wing back is could drop. So that's what I love about the formation, is that there's some fluidity that gives some freedom to some of our players in the back line. Or even if we have our two wing backs go up, you can split, or even a center back goes up, you could split the two, and then one of the sixes drops in. I really, really appreciate this formation, and I'm glad that we've adopted it, and now we're like full gas, Johnny B, on the way forward. And I think that allows the coaching staff and the players to kind of understand, all right, this is our identity. This is the box that we're playing in. These are the parameters. And now let's see, now that we've established this foundation, we can really grow from there.
And I think Pochettino's done a good job recently of just the player selection, right? In order to play any type of system or any formation, it always comes down to personnel, right? You could ask, certain things of certain players, and they're just not going to be able to provide what a coach wants in a certain style of play. Mm-hmm. And so I think, the guys who were on the field, both for Paraguay as well in this game against Uruguay, have shown that like they can answer whatever it is that Pochettino is asking of them. So it's nice. I've always loved kind of like a 3-5-2, 4-3-4-3 type situation. It's kind of both of them always at the same time, depending on which players are moving up and down, but it always adds for a lot of rotation as long as the players are understanding what their roles are within these, within the tactics of the system. So it's really good to see that coming from the last two games.
Yeah. So before we hit our first break, I'm going to ask you both, but I'll start with you, Tab. Which game were you most impressed with? Our performance against Paraguay or our performance against Uruguay?
Wow, I think actually I have to say that that's pretty easy. The performance tonight is one that we won't forget for a long time. Obviously it is a friendly game and all of those things, but I just go back to, we have been waiting for so many years to see a U.S. team look the way we look tonight, the way we've been looking now for the last couple months, but in particular getting this signature win for this group of players who I think have been suffering for the last few years in terms of criticism and being criticized and not getting the right results. I think tonight's win is the best win we've had in a long time. And
Johnny B, what do you say?
I'm most impressed with just the way the U.S. has been progressing over the last 4 or 5 games, right? I think we're unbeaten in the last 5 now with this win against Uruguay. I think if you just take these last 2 more specifically, I would say the result tonight is just, you had Jimmy screaming and putting his arms up and like laughing at a 5-0 potential result, and then to having to, we're all eating our own words saying like there was no way we were going to score more than 2 goals, right? So I think they just put it all together. Obviously, specific performances from certain players really stand out, but I'd say like the guys we didn't even talk about, most of the guys had good games tonight and solid performances, as we touched upon earlier in the broadcast. Like these guys are just doing the job, and you're not doing anything crazy, but they're being very effective. So it was good to see a great performance from a number of players, not just 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah, 4 wins and 1 draw in our last 5 games. All of those 5 are World Cup teams. And the 6th team was South Korea. You know what? I think they did us a fantastic service, because by them beating us 2-0, we had to switch formations to try to get back in that game. In the last 15, 20 minutes, we went to a back 3, and all of a sudden our team just looked better. And ever since that happened, we went on and now stayed with that formation. We continue to get better and better and better. So thank you, South Korea. We owe you. You don't even know how much we owe you at this point, because you've unlocked our team, and we are in debt to you for that. All right, we're going to take our first break of Call What You Want. When we come back, we are just going to talk more about this game, because there's so much more to talk about. Keep it right here. Now, I have to say, I've missed the opportunity to use this joke for a while. The last time Jonathan Bornstein joined us here on the show, He couldn't remember the name of it. This was at the Nations League back in March, and he called it "Call It Like It Is." Call it what it is. Excuse me. And I always reference that joke when Johnny B's not on the show, and so we actually made a graphic that we renamed it "Call It What It Is" just in honor. There it is, right over the shoulder of Johnny Bornstein, and absolutely love it. So call it what it is in honor of Johnny B. We appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Tab, obviously a pleasure to join us. Before we get into the game, though, Tab, I really wanted to explore this new venture you got going. You're opening up a soccer school. I need to know a little bit more about it because I am so excited that you have taken this step because I think it could be a model for other schools or you expanding this school around the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about it. And thank you for asking. Yeah, I've been thinking for a long time of starting a school a little bit and teaching a little bit different than the way sort of everyone teaches the game. I'm fortunate enough to have gotten all my licenses. So, my B, my A. Let me go back a little bit if you have, if we have a little bit of time, but I'll go back for
in the world.
No, and I'll say it because when I first started doing the coaching part, I went to a coaching seminar and I ran into Xavier Escargorta, a famous World Cup coach, Spanish coach, and he asked me what I was doing there, and I said I want to be a coach, and he said, "Well, if you just retired from playing, you don't know anything about the game. You got to go coach little kids and go teach them how to play the game." And so I took that to heart, and I started coaching 8-year-olds, and then I coached 9-year-olds, and then 11s and 12s, 13s, 14, 15, 16, and 18s. I did a year of each one of the age groups before I went to the youth national team. And I felt like I learned a lot. And through that time, I took my B license, my B course, and I took my A course, and I took my pro license. And so I feel like I've learned sort of let's say, all of what someone can provide to you, open doors to think my own way. And because of that, I think a little bit different. Now that I've gotten all my licenses, I think a little bit about how the way I learned made me successful. And I think I continue to think that the relationship with the ball is the number one thing. Relationship with the ball. The fact that I heard little things like Manfred Schellscheit say, the game is the best teacher. So no matter how much you learn in your licenses, I think everyone should take their licenses as an open door to having your own opinion about how to teach the game, not about copying what somebody else is doing. And so that's what this school is about. This school is about teaching kids the relationship that at first it starts between you and the ball, then it starts you, the ball, and an opponent, then you, the ball, an opponent, and a goal, then you, the ball, an opponent, and 2 goals, and how you deal with that, and then how you take the angles, and how you attack and you defend 1v1. And then we can talk about the bigger game that really doesn't matter, but that's what the school is about.
I love it. Honestly, Johnny, I'm jealous of all the kids that get to start at this school because I would have eaten this up as a kid. So let's keep this teaching thing going because Mauricio Pochettino has clearly shifted the culture and the mindset and the mentality of this team. And I feel like he's doing some teaching and educating as well with this group. So you can still learn at any age, Tab, right? Doesn't matter how old you are. You can still learn. And I feel like he's gotten this group in a really good space because our identity, to something you said earlier, has been pretty consistent over these last 2 windows. And it feels like we're only getting stronger and more confident as it goes along. So let's speak about Mauricio Pochettino, the coach, because I think he's done an excellent job.
You were asking me about that? I'm sorry.
No, I was asking Johnny. Sorry.
I thought you mentioned Tab as well. So.
Tab can chime in later.
No, I was lost as well, like watching Pochettino speak right now, trying to read his lips. So just speaking of Pochettino and his kind of
just because let's be honest, like 6 months ago, we were all like, I don't know, we lost those 2 games against Turkey and Switzerland. It didn't look good. The Gold Cup wasn't entirely convincing. We thought we'd see different players in the roster. And then even that first window, like, but these last 2 windows, man, we switched to that formation and it feels like we're absolutely cooking. And he's playing a formation he's never played before. Or coached before, I should say. And so it feels like he got out of his own way maybe a little bit. Our players got out of their own way a little bit. And now we're all aligned. And now that we're all aligned, it just looks fantastic.
Yeah, I think, although he may have changed like formations and maybe a little bit of a different, tactics in terms of, how the team is playing, I think he's always been consistent in a few things though, right? Like, and that's just the message to the team. And we spoke vastly of it during the broadcast as well as recently, just about kind of instilling a certain like work ethic in the group. And, it doesn't matter about the names who are in those positions on the field, but that people are representing the Stars and Stripes in the best way possible. Right. You showed that clip of him speaking at during the broadcast of the interview, and just saying like, oh, guys are coming in here for vacation and being worried about getting injured to go to their clubs. Right. Like he has always kind of said those type of things from the moment he took over the team. And so, it is good to see him kind of go through his own little process of now finding, a formation that works for the guys who he is putting on the field. And that's not easy to do as a coach. Sometimes, you want to stick to what you're used to. And, it shows a lot of growth in respect to kind of what he is doing with our national team as well.
Yeah, I saw a comment tab that said it's disappointing that we don't have our next game till March. And I completely agree with that sentiment. Like, I want more of this team. I want to see more of this team playing together. And now we got to wait 4 months before we reconvene. And a lot can happen in 4 months, as I'm sure you know, throughout your career.
I agree. We're finally starting to have some fun, and now we got to go into winter break really for national team, which is really unfortunate for us. But listen, we're going to have a next couple of months where we're going to talk about how this team has really is projecting every time we watch them a little bit better, and how important is going to be that the players that are playing in Europe over the next couple of months, because those are the ones that we're going to see how important it's going to be for them to perform. Because I think at this point, if there's one thing we know about this coach, is that nothing is guaranteed, no spot is guaranteed, and even though players are playing into positions and they're in a good spot, I think the players themselves, and I give them credit for that, the players themselves have helped put the coach in this position by performing well when they've been called upon.
Yeah, wow. If everybody keeps playing at this level, he's going to have some real tough decisions in about 5 or 6 months' time. Now, Johnny B, I rudely didn't allow you to answer this question that I asked Tab. Which player do you think did the most with his opportunity tonight? And because Freeman, I agree with Tab. I think Freeman went from being on the roster to maybe being a starter. And we could say Seb Berhalter went from being in the bubble to maybe getting on the roster now, right? I mean, I think he's done enough to like, all right, if other guys aren't playing well, but if all those other guys are playing well, and that it's just like you got Cardoso, if you consider McKinney a 6, you got Tessmann, obviously Tyler Adams. It's just it gets a little complicated. So yeah, I was just kind of wondering. And those are 2 names. You could maybe throw in somebody else, but I wanted your thoughts on that.
No, I think before I answer the actual question, right, you do have to look at kind of the available positions that are open even for guys to have a great performance and then make a name for themselves to be in a starting spot or even like a position to battle against some of the guys who aren't there at the current moment, right? Because, honestly, like quite a few guests came on the show today as well. And, they mentioned names of people who are almost like slated in without them being there for the last 2 games, right? But I would say that, it's an easy one. Right? Freeman is the guy who had the best performance of the night, was named man of the match, and has made a case for himself that he could probably be the starting right center back if we're playing in this, 3-back system. Just because, consistently, I think there isn't someone who stepped in and done a good enough job over the last couple games. And, his performance, although like the best one we've seen from any of the right center backs in a while, it was deserving of a definite, like, okay, he's a player that we need to use in the next games coming up.
Yeah, I think also when I think about the teams, we talked a lot about Alex Freeman. We should talk about the other center backs. Mark McKenzie and Austin Trusty. I don't remember them putting a foot wrong. If anything, they were trying to scramble to help out other players that maybe gave up the ball in a bad area, and we're trying to do that. Mark McKenzie, though, I think where he has the advantage, Tab, is that he was captain. And I don't think you just hand out the captain's armbands freely, right? There's obviously some thought behind it. So I feel like that might give him an edge over Austin Trusty. Trusty tonight, 45 out of 46 in terms of his passing, which is, I think, one of if Tim Ream isn't available, can we have someone in that spot who can pass? Because that's what one of Tim Ream's gifts are. Excuse me. And so, yeah, I think those two guys were solid. I don't know if they did enough to kind of move the needle one way or the other. It's probably for Trusty, just getting some minutes and holding his own against a good Uruguay team is probably more than enough. Tolkien probably falls into that as well. Aiden Morris, I thought, made a couple decisions, some clearances, maybe wasn't as clean in certain areas of the field that could have cost us, that didn't. So maybe he didn't necessarily move the needle as far forward as Sebastian Berhalter did. And then Timothy Tillman, again, another player that was solid, but I don't think we're going to be using him moving forward. And then Diego Luna, he scored a goal. I think he kind of just said, yeah, okay, that's why he's on the team. We know he's going to be on the team. And then Haji Wright, I think, was solid as well. So Matt Freese, maybe I thought he could have maybe done a little bit better, not necessarily on the goal. Was it on the goal where he came out and he ran into?
Yeah.
That was the goal, right? Yeah. So many plays. Yeah. So I thought he should have let his defenders come out, and we need Big Tones on here to kind of explain his thought process. But when I think about the team overall and even the subs, Tanner Tessmann came on and scored a good goal. I don't think anybody played themselves off the team, I guess is where I'm going with this as I kind of work through all the players. But I don't know if some players move the needle as far as some others. And so, yeah, I don't know if there's any other players you wanted to highlight one way or the other, Tap.
No, not really. I would agree with you on Morris, that I thought he missed an opportunity this camp to really, I think he was very much in a position to be one of those guys where you're like, of course you're going to take Morris because he's done so well in Europe. But I think he didn't help himself as much. And I'm not saying he did poorly, because he didn't. He just didn't help himself as much as everyone else did. And I think now after this camp, when we look at Tessmann and we look at the progress that maybe Berhalter may have jumped, Morris at this point. So I would say that. Other than that, obviously we already discussed Freeman. Haji Wright, I think, did okay today. Got fouled outside the box a couple times. He was dangerous. I think he kept his spot. Yeah, I think everyone stayed the same or made a little bit of progress, but I don't.
I
go on, Johnny B. You go.
Well, I was just thinking back, if we're taking it more like this entire camp cycle, right? You got to throw Reyna's name in there, just based on his performance in the Paraguay game.
And he had this assist.
He got an assist today as well, coming off the bench, right? Like someone who we weren't speaking about for the last 7 months, 8 months, wasn't getting any looks, has now come in and made a very big impact in 2 big games, right? More so in the Paraguay game. But, a guy who we've almost included with all the other names like Pulisic and McKinney and Adams in the past is now kind of resurfacing at a really good time for the U.S. as well. So here's the thing about. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I interrupted, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about Gio Reyna and why I think he's a lock to make this team. He's I think likely our best player in the final third. He can make that pass that will win the game, and I think because of that, I'm not sure that Gio Reyna will be a 90-minute player for this team. Because that remains to be seen. I don't think he's played a 90-minute game in years. I'm not even sure. He doesn't play that much. But what we know is he has that quality. And so when, as a coach, you're looking at the roster and you only have so many spots, you're thinking, okay, who do I want to bring off the bench that can make a difference at a certain time? And this is why I think maybe Aronson hurt himself a little bit, right? Because I think it's going to be impossible to take Aronson, Luna, Reyna, and Tillman and have all those guys at the same time. And so when you look at Aronson, you're looking at, okay, he can press, he works hard. Like he's the player that everyone would want on their team. I would want him on my team anytime. But now you're thinking, okay, he's not going to be a starter. What is he going to bring me off the bench to help me win this game? But when you look at Reyna and you say, what can he do off the bench to help me win this game? You have a bunch of things that he can do. There's a number of solutions that his brain will come up with to help you win. And that's why I think this camp, as Jonathan is saying, I would agree with that he put himself in that position, not necessarily as a starter, but as someone who can help this team be better.
No, I love that. It's a good explanation. Gio Reyna, his minutes in November, 104 minutes over these 2 games, 1 goal and 1 assist. He had 89 touches, passing percentage of 85%. Actually, I think he had 1 goal and 2 assists. I know that one of them's kind of unofficially credited, but 1 goal and 2 assists. And so he's got 3 goal contributions in 104 minutes in November. That's pretty good. And that's something that we definitely would want on our team. Now, the one player that we need to talk about who actually didn't step on the field tonight, surprisingly, was Ricardo Pepi. He came on as a sub against Paraguay. And then when Haji Wright came off today, Haji Wright started and he came off, 60th, 65th minute. I thought for sure we were going to see Pepe's name get lit up on the sub board. And it's actually Flo Balogun that came on. And I just don't understand. He's not listed as hurt. And I get why you would want to go with Balogun if he's ready to go. And maybe he provides something different, especially if down 4-1, Uruguay is going to push forward. And now, Balogun can use his speed to get in behind and you can hurt them a little bit more. Maybe that just felt like a better spot to play him. But Johnny B, I'm a little bit worried about Ricardo Pepi. I know that he maybe lacks match fitness, but I wasn't asking him to start well, I thought he would maybe start this game, but because he didn't, I thought for sure we would see him off the bench. We didn't even see him off the bench. So I wonder if he's nursing an injury of some capacity. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because if he doesn't have that, I'm a little bit more nervous for Ricardo Pepi and where he is on the depth chart.
Yeah, you would hope that, there would be something in terms of just him coming back into fitness, but I would say that what we spoke about earlier in the broadcast as well, games are about moments, right? And I think against Paraguay, he had the moment where he, almost everyone's like, oh, he should score that. And obviously coming off the bench and, then having a moment like that, it doesn't define you, but it does put a decision in the coach's head or put something in the coach's head.
Right.
When he needs to make the decision for the next game, who's coming off the bench, I might choose another guy who I think, can do better. Right. And so is it a combination of, maybe coming back from injury or coming into fitness and form in conjunction with, not having a great performance over the last game? So I think those are the reasonings. And, that's just also something that happens, coaches have to make decisions.
It happens.
And coaches make decisions. And so they have,
I would add to that. I would add to what you're saying, because I'm sure you guys had many injuries when you played. I played most of my career with injuries. So, but when you're out with an injury and then you come back and sometimes you feel like physically you're okay, but the way you're reading the game, you're a little bit slower reading the game just because you're not in that flow. Like, I will tell you this, had I seen Pepi missed that chance the other day by hitting it first time left-footed and hitting it over the bar, it would be a different story. But the fact that he took a touch and then took a second bad touch to try to finish tells me that he's not in the game yet. Like, he's not fully recovered. And physically, he may be fully recovered, but he's not fully ready for an international game.
Yeah, like that match sharpness. Well, he's got 4 months until the next window. So that's plenty of time for Ricardo Pepi to regain that. All right, we're going to take our last break and call it what you want. When we come back, more of the good stuff or more of the average to good stuff. So keep it right here. All right, welcome back into Call It What It Is. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Jonathan Bornstein and Tab Ramos, who are filling in heroically for Charlie Davies and Tony Miola. Charlie, in particular, is covering the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. Lots of things going to be decided tonight. And in fact, Panama is up 2-0 over Suriname, which means Panama is about to catch Suriname at the top of the table and qualify automatically. They're making that one really close. We got Curacao and Jamaica at 0-0 right now. Jamaica, another team that's making it a lot more difficult than they should ultimately. But some big results. Scotland got into the World Cup today. First time back in the World Cup since 1998. Austria got back into the World Cup, qualifying automatically for the first time since 1998. Norway just did it. Erling Haaland got back. Norway back in since, I don't know what's going on with 1998, but a lot of these European countries are getting back in, and I'm excited to see which CONCACAF teams are going to get in as well. Now, we did this last time, or our last show. You guys weren't here, but I kind of wanted to get your temperature check on our co-hosts, Canada and Mexico. What are your thoughts on the Tab? I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on? I'll go with, you know what, Tab? I'll let you do Canada, and I'll let Johnny B do Mexico. What do you think on Jesse Marsh and what he's done with Canada? And do you feel, how tough do you think they're going to be come World Cup time next summer?
I think that Jesse was a good fit for Canada. I think they have the type of players that I think fit the way he wants to play. They're a maximum effort team all the time. And I think when they have all of their players healthy, they're going to be a handful. I really feel like Canada has a strong chance of being in the second round in the World Cup.
Nice. World Cup draw, everybody, is on December 5th. So we'll have a pretty good idea of what our group's going to be. Canada's and Mexico, of course, too. Canada is currently up 1-0 on Venezuela. And apparently Wayne Gretzky, the hockey great, gave them a team talk today. So maybe that's what's propelled them into scoring a goal. They finally scored a goal. I don't know what it looks like yet because I haven't seen the game or the highlight, but they've been having trouble scoring some goals, as has Mexico to a certain degree. Johnny B, talk to me about Mexico. Obviously, there's always a lot of drama around the team and their performances, and now the players are taking shots at the fans. Raul Jimenez mentioned that maybe that's why we play games in the United States, because they were getting some heat and getting booed at and screamed at and yelled at after their 0-0 draw against Uruguay. And I think it's 0-0 right now against Paraguay, so they're probably not winning over any new fans. But give me a temperature check on what you think about Mexico and their chances at the World Cup next summer.
Yeah, I think, obviously they brought in Aguirre, right, to kind of right the ship a little bit ago. Obviously, he has that experience with Mexico. They've got some up-and-coming talent that's very exciting, right? You see, if you watch that Mexico Uruguay game, obviously we haven't been watching the Mexico-Paraguay game, but, Gil Mora having another really good performance and being like a very bright piece for Mexico, potentially being able to score that goal where, it's kind of similar to the Pepe goal or Pepe moment that we're talking about where, a player who's in top form almost like tries to do too much, right? Where he takes a great first touch and then tries to hit it with the outside of his right foot instead of maybe potentially just slotting it with his left. But you see the difference in the skill level there and the great first touch and just the form, right? And so, you have a combination of that with, some older players on that team who have a lot of experience, but they just can't seem to get a result. So I think, we'll see how this
Are you worried about them overall? Like come World Cup time, and I think this is for most national teams, ours included, like you're just going to get your shit together and everybody's going to be aligned and they're going to be fighting. It's just a matter of like the fine margins at the World Cup level is ultimately decides it. And so who's going to make those plays in those key moments? Similar to tonight against Uruguay, we made the plays that mattered in good timing of the game. Like all of a sudden it's 1-0 before Uruguay can even like solve problems. We made it 2 before they can even kind of grip. Oh man, we're down 2-0. We made it 3, right? I mean, we just, the timing of our goals were excellent and our intensity was excellent. And we talked about a lot about that game, but when you think about Mexico, I feel like they're still going to show up and play well when it matters at the World Cup, at least unless you can convince me otherwise. I feel like that's what's going to happen.
No, I mean, if you look at the past World Cup qualifiers, right, when they were kind of struggling, they came to every single World Cup in the past, 4 World Cups, and they've shown really well, right? So I don't doubt it either that, if, when they are on the biggest stage, they're going to find a way to do it. And even their fans and everything will come and support them because that's just, the Mexican people are very passionate about the game and they look forward to that moment every time. So I agree with you. No doubt they will get
They'll be ready. They'll get it together. And I think Aguirre, I'm going to roll my R's a little bit there. Aguirre is a good coach and having Rafa Marquez as his right-hand man, I think is going to be advantageous for them as well. So I'm not too worried about them overall. Let's have a little reality check though, Tab. Let's bring it back to the U.S. because in our history, we've only won 1 knockout round game in our history. And that was against an opponent we're very familiar with in Mexico. That was in the round of 16 in 2002. We beat them 2-0, 2-0. And then we probably should have beat Germany in the next round. That didn't happen. But conversation for another time. You asked me maybe like, okay, before when Pochettino was hired, okay, when the dust got settled in the Berhalter era and Pochettino got hired, I thought, okay, all right, we got a big dog here. We're investing in a big dog here. He's going to get it going. And I'm thinking quarterfinals, like quarterfinals minimum finish. That's what we have to happen. But now with an expanded World Cup, that means we have to win a round of 32 game and a round of 16. That means we have to win 2 knockout round games. We've only won 1 in our history to get to a quarterfinal. And now I'm setting that as the benchmark. And then someone goes 6 months into Pochettino. I'm like, maybe round of 16. If I'm being unemotional and realistic, maybe round of 16 is a little bit more fair for this group. So I don't blow smoke to anybody that I know and when I'm talking here. But now after like the last month of these 2 windows, I'm like quarterfinals minimum again. Where are you on where you think and where would you be satisfied with where we finish next summer's World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you on that. I think that, the World Cup, unfortunately, you depend on the bracket you're in, right? So it depends on who you play. But at the end of the day, we're a pot one team. We should have a pretty good group. And our crossover game for that round of 32 will probably be a game that we should win. And then you're in the round of 16. So I think I have to say, if we get to the round of 16, I can tell you any coach could have done it. I don't think we needed to go to Pochettino for that. I think we need to go to the quarterfinals. I think the quarterfinals would be the beginning of having success with this team. And I would say anything less than that is I would call it a failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Putting your flag in the ground. So we're on the same page. Johnny B, where are you now that you've kind of seen where this team is headed? Signature win tonight against a very good opponent, and not even with our best players, which really speaks to the type of depth and belief and identity that we're forming. Where are you, and where do you think we should finish? What should be our standard based on what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it being a different format kind of throws a little bit of a wrench in things, right? And you basing kind of the history of our national team where we've only won one, knockout stage game. But I agree with what kind of Tab is saying there. Just based on that, we're hosting the placement of us already in a pod one, right? I think it's vital that we win the group because, you go against a lower placed team from another group. But if, obviously if you come in second place or you qualify in the lower rank of the pod, you'll play a more difficult opponent. But, I think, I would love to say a quarterfinal would be the one where we got to get to. But as a standard, I do think, round of 16 is fair to say just based on all the circumstances that I kind of mentioned and we've mentioned in just recently. Yeah,
I mean, we'll probably run into an England, France, or Spain, Germany at that point at the round of 16, definitely in the quarterfinals. And so I think this World Cup's going to surprise us. I think they're going to be one or two teams that are going to level up, and it could be like a Switzerland. I thought Switzerland was very good against us in particular, and I don't want to face them in the World Cup. They'll be probably a South American team, and even in Ecuador, they could just make a nice run. So I'm kind of curious to see how it all plays out, of course. But ultimately, I agree with you guys. Quarterfinal now, though, Tab, I agree. Like it's got to be there, especially at home. It's a home World Cup, baby.
Well,
we got to get the momentum going.
That's the point. I think it'll be the first time really where the team will be supported by 80,000. It's not like our friendly games where you play like the away team. You're the away team against that. This time it'll be I live that. You're gonna have American fans. You're gonna be supported. You're at home. You're gonna have the attention of the whole country. The whole country's gonna go crazy over the team.
Yeah.
And I think that helps. All that helps.
Yeah. One thing I want to add is now that Portugal and Belgium both qualified automatically for the World Cup over these last couple of days, they are going to be two opponents we're going to face. So that's exciting that we're going to get to another good two opponents for us to cut our teeth. It's not official, but that's just what we're hearing. Okay. That's just what we're hearing. I'm just speculating here. Reportedly, we might have Portugal and Belgium, but I think it helps that they automatically qualify. Okay. Don't hold me to anything. I'm just speculating here. Reportedly. All right. Panama's now up 3-0, looking like they're going to stamp their ticket to the World Cup. Congratulations to them. All right, last question for both of you, and then we're going to end the show. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us on the Glosso Network and the Glosso America YouTube channel. Johnny B, coming to you first. Which player will you guys be watching most closely these next 4 months? Like maybe I'll give you two if you want, but give me a name or two that you like. This is such a big 4 months for these guys, and because if they don't get called into the March window, what are you going to do? They're probably not going to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, if you take it in terms of just guys we need to be watching to bring in or to make sure that they are maintaining the form that they just had, right? I would say, we talked a lot about.
Say it.
What?
Give us a name, Johnny B.
No, I mean, I was gonna say like Alex Freeman, right? Just based on everything that he could potentially have a move going somewhere else, leaving a club where he's comfortable at, right? Like talking about those type of situations that he could potentially go through over this next January window.
He shouldn't go though, Johnny B. He shouldn't leave.
That's what I'm saying.
Orlando City. Move afterwards.
You adjust very slowly or something. Could he fall out of form, right? So that's one that I would like to take an interest in. see what happens just coming up here in the window. Like, obviously think potentially him staying at Orlando would be more beneficial just because of the form he's in.
Right.
But again, so that's what I'm going with for your question.
All right. No, Freeman's a great shout. And man, the strides he's made over the last 8 to 10 months have been incredible. Tab, how about you? Which player are you watching closely over these next 4 months?
I'm going to have to say Flo Balogun. I think if we go into the World Cup with a hot number 9, we have the potential to go to the quarterfinals just like we want.
Yeah, I love that shout. I thought you guys would definitely go with this. This felt like the captain obvious choice. I'm going Gio Reyna.
I knew you were going to say that.
I thought that's what I was saying. To spit it out. I thought you were going to go Gio Reyna, but Alex Freeman's a good shout. I like that one.
Yeah,
and Balogun, of course. I think he's solidified himself as the number 9, but we obviously need him in good form going into the World Cup because we're not going to go anywhere without scoring some goals. All right, so Gio Reyna for me is a lock. He needs to get meaningful minutes with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Hopefully, they've been watching these games and go, all right, look what this guy can do if we play him and trust him, and maybe we start him instead of bringing him on as a super sub all the time. So I'm very curious what his next 4 months looks like. From an injury standpoint, I think Anthony Robinson is another one, right? We just got to make sure that guy gets healthy and then get him back to match fitness as fast as possible. Cardoso coming off an injury. We got Yunus Musa, obviously, kind of in the peripheral. Can he get back into the team? So, yeah, lots of guys to watch, but ultimately Gio Reyna has to be number 1 on my list. All right, that's it. Johnny B, appreciate you. Tab Ramos, appreciate you for coming on and hanging out with us on the show and doing the watch along and all the posts. It's a long one, but we love talking soccer. So ultimately, it's very easy. Thank you for hanging out with us on the Glosso America YouTube channel and on the Glosso Network. And congratulations once again to the U.S. on a signature win, our first in a very long time against a very good Uruguay team, 5-1. I still can't believe I'm saying that out loud, and it's absolutely awesome. We'll see you next time. Later.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Call it what it is. Whatever you want.
Call it what it is.